My leadership principles actually is from the Bible, from the Gospel of, is it Matthew or Mark? That's where I've started learning. And that's the concept that says, it is actually a concept that I learned since in kindergarten. Do unto others as you like others to do unto you. For me, that is my own foundation of leadership. That whatever you want to be done to you, that is what you should do to others. Like you said, we took over the leadership of this university, great University of Jos, precisely on the 1st of December 2021. So we are just a few days actually before the end of our third year in office. Of course, when we came on board, we came with a very clear, straightforward vision and mission of the university. As you know, the university has had its impact in society, and therefore one of the things that we felt that we should do, number one, I felt that we had the human resource that is required to take the University of Jos where it is, where it's supposed to be. And therefore, for me, I thought that the leadership that needed to come on board is a leadership of inclusiveness that includes, everyone. But of course, the leadership inclusiveness actually means that you need to identify a variety of factors in order to ensure that all stakeholders, number one, understand what the vision is, understand what the mission is, and are able to key in with that mission. You are able to, as a leader, make people understand the vision and the mission, so that whatever they do, they have it at the back of the mind that there's a goal post that we need to hit, and therefore we came with that in mind. Particularly for me, I came with a concept that the leadership is going to be within, the tripod of integrity, transparency, and accountability. And for me, I believe that when a leader is very, very clear, is very transparent and open, the stakeholders will also understand, the openness and indeed understand where the system is supposed to be. So of course, in order to achieve that, there are quite a number of things that we needed to do. Like I said, given that the fact that I became a Vice Chancellor, I understood that I was not the one that was going to do everything alone. I don't have the capacity to do it alone. But I understood that I have the expertise on ground for me to be able to organize them in a way that we can achieve the vision and mission of the university. So that has been kind of the leadership style that I thought I came on board with. Inclusiveness, so therefore we continue to engage individuals at various levels of governance within the university system in order to ensure that we have a governance structure that is actually inclusive, an administrative structure that is inclusive, an administrative structure that everybody understands, where we are going and how we are supposed to achieve what we're aimed to achieve. For the past 3 years, of course, that's one of the reasons why I said, why I will say that by the grace of God, we've been able to have some modest achievements. And make no mistake, I'm not the only person that did the achievement. It's a collaborative work that everybody has their contribution towards ensuring that we achieve what it is that we are able to achieve at the moment. With respect to staff welfare, of course, mindful of the fact that there are constraints, especially when IPPIS took over. What it actually meant is that the university management didn't have the ability or the control of how staff and when staff are going to be paid. So there was that particular constraint, which of course, as we know in the country, ASU and other unions actually went on strike. And up till now, we're hoping that's being resolved.
But of course, we needed to be a little bit more creative. For us, what we thought that we should do, actually quite a few things that we're able to do in order to motivate staff. Number one is to ensure that the promotions of staff are not delayed, because that is fundamentally important. When a staff is due for promotion and you delay that promotion, it means that you're not really encouraging them and motivating them to bring in their best. So that was one of the things that we made sure that we did. When I came on board, we had backlogs of particularly academic staff whose assessment has gone out without being returned, basically because of the feeling by these external assessors that UniJos was not paying for their stipend or their remuneration for assessing academic staff. So the first thing I did was that I put the payment of external assessors as a first-line charge to bursary. I said that must be treated immediately. You know, any request for payments of external assessors, we must make sure that we have that as a priority, payment line. We did that, and we cleared the backlog, and even I can tell you that as at today, virtually all academic staff promotions with respect to external assessment, returns, and so on and so forth, up to the last promotion round, had been cleared. So, I think that academic staff from that perspective are happy, feel motivated, feel that management are looking at some of the issues that they need to really understand. I mean, really push in order to motivate them. So that's one aspect that we had to do in order to encourage academic staff. For administrative non-teaching staff, we did quite a few things that a lot of staff will come and say, well, we are really happy and motivated, to continue to do our best. In fact, only yesterday, the leadership of the Student Affairs Division and that of the Security Division of Security came, to really show their appreciation to management on what management did for them. And of course, based on that, to also play their allegiance, if you like, with respect to further commitment, to work in the university. And that's the aspect that I believe that motivation is very, very crucial. And no matter how small it is, it's to show that you have a duty of care on your staff. Whatever that you're doing, when you show that you have a duty of care on your staff, they feel motivated. You may not be paying them what they feel they deserve, of course, because of some of the challenges and some of the issues that we are facing in the country, but they are happy. And basically, a few things we are able to do with respect to, removing a kind of a clog in the progress of staff. That is one thing that we had to do, because I came in and met that some of the non-academic staff, particularly security staff, were stagnated on one particular level. And some of them even had stepped up to 15. That means they stayed for over 15 years without promotion. And our management said this is not the best thing. We need to really remove that and allow them to progress, especially that they are putting in their best. And that has been appreciated. One of the things that we also did, of course, in management was that we decided to introduce the best staff of the year, some of the outstanding and performing staff, to be able to motivate other staff, motivate them, and also motivate other staff to do the best. So those are a few things that we were able to do to be able to ensure that the staff are well motivated. Not forgetting, of course, one fundamental aspect that we also had to do with respect to training and development. We made sure that we've taken that very, very seriously. Internationally and locally, we have been committed, and we are actually, sending our staff, both academic and non-academic, to a variety of trainings so that they can, refresh their their knowledge, refresh their skills that is required so that they can actually come and properly deploy the skills within the university. So I think that these are a few things, but I think the last thing that I think I did, and you know, as soon as this government came on board, we experienced removal of subsidy in fuel subsidy. And of course, that made that transportation cost has skyrocketed. Our management needed to look at, you know, what we can do in order to help actually both staff and students. So we had some buses, which we decided that we needed to deploy the buses at various locations in the morning, in fact, throughout, to convey staff to work, to and from work, from their own homes. So that has also demonstrated to the staff that, and students that indeed we have management that really cares about our challenges. I think that during that time, I even also had to introduce, you know, to all the departments to say that, look, you need to be able to be a little bit flexible with your staff. And so those are a few things that we have been doing. And I think the bottom line really, in summary, is that we believe that we needed to really demonstrate and show that we have a duty of care on our staff in the university. As far as students are concerned, one of the hallmark of our management administration is that students are our number one priority. And we always say it without any doubt, any mincing thoughts, that without students we will not be here. And therefore, whatever that we can do, whatever that we should do in order to ensure that we provide an enabling environment for students to learn and strive in their various areas of endeavors, we were committed and we are committed in terms of providing those that enabling environment. So, like you said, yes, number one, as soon as we took over as the Vice Chancellor of this university, we wanted to know where our students are living in terms of their hostel accommodation. We wanted to see the facilities. We went around, and I can tell you it was a harrowing experience, because when we saw the kind of hostels that our students were living, after going around, we called a meeting of the student union to be able to x-ray and also understand ourselves with respect to what we saw and what our plans were with respect to looking at how we can rehabilitate the hostels. Of course, bearing in mind that we still had challenges with respect to funds. But we were committed that whatever little funds we have, we needed to ensure that we find a way of deploying some funds towards ensuring that the students' accommodation are made a little bit better. So we have that in mind. We identify a few things. You know, some of the things are actually very basic, like clearing of the hostels, ensuring that the hostels are very clean, even clearing of soakaways, because the first time we went, some of the soakaways were leaking, you know, and for me, we thought that it wasn't even healthy for a human being to stay and habitate those kind of environments. So we needed to make sure that we clear those ones. Some of the doors in the hostel accommodations were really no doors, if you like. We needed to make sure that we find some funds, especially from what students contribute, in order to make sure that we fixed some of those, most of those doors. And we deployed strategies, and we've fixed most of the doors. I know that there are still some doors that the work is still going on, even as we speak. There is a hostel that a contractor is still working towards ensuring that we fix the doors, the windows, we clear some of the sewage, and just to make sure that at least the hostel is clean, ensuring the provision of water and ensuring the provision of electricity. So those are what we needed to do, or what we have done so far towards ensuring the students have a good, at least a habitable accommodation, more or less. On accommodation, of course, we also understand that that as we speak, we basically have about 5% of our students, staying in hostel accommodation, on-campus hostel accommodation. Majority of students are staying out off campus, but we also thought that one of the things that we must do to also demonstrate that duty of care on students is to deploy a strategy where actually I said that the Student Affairs Division will need to do a comprehensive survey wherever we have our students. There are at least up to 5 students in an off-campus hostel accommodation. We need to have that database. And we do have a database knowing where our students are off campus. And that is with the plan that whatever happens, we're able to deploy even support on some of the off-campus accommodation in order to help the students, either evacuation and so on and so forth. Even with respect to helping students, deployment and provision of even water, all our plans towards ensuring that we extend, because understanding that we have limited capacity of students accommodation that on campus, we were able to do that. But we have also gone out, to look for investors, even people that will come and invest on a public-private partnership perspective to build hostels and manage hostels for students. We have had quite a number of people coming, organizations coming to show interest, but unfortunately up to now we have not really come to a point of agreeing and signing a memorandum of understanding with respect to provision of the hostel accommodation. So those are some of the things that we've done. With respect to NUGA, frankly speaking, it's something that as soon as I came on board, when fortunately there was a NUGA event that was going on in Lagos in 2022, we said we are going to bid for it, especially when I look at the records and identify and discover that the UniJos had never hosted. We said we are going to bid for it. We bidded for it. We got the support of the governing council then, and we went to Lagos with even members of the governing council, including, our then Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, Professor Atai Rujega, who came along with us. I've asked around. I've never had a situation where we had, a university had that kind of support. That a chairman of a council was there to demonstrate to the NUGA committee that we are together. We are together with management. We are in support of management to host this particular event. And by the grace of God, we got it. And when we got it, I promised Nigerians that UniJos is going to host the best NUGA that Nigerian students have ever seen. It was a dream, but we needed to now come back and try to look at how we can translate that dream into reality. Of course, when we made that promise, we didn't have the enabling infrastructure to be able to host that kind of NUGA, and therefore we decided to start from planning. We did a plan. We came up with a very, very comprehensive sports center with all the facilities that we needed to do. But we had no money to implement. But at least we had a plan. So we started, moving around. I had the plan in my pocket everywhere I go to. And when I'm speaking to some people, I bring out the plan and say, this is what we want. And this is the kind of support that we were looking for. Fortunately, the first support that we got was from Abdul Salaman Rabiu Initiatives, ASR, that said, oh, okay, this is a fantastic thing. We will take this part of your design, your plan, to implement. And they've started implementing that. And of course, the next thing was I took the plan to TEDFON. And unfortunately, TEDFON, have some specific areas of intervention. They have an intervention line for NUGA, when you are hosting, but of course it wasn't enough for us to even consider anything.
But I met with the ES of NUC. We had a special intervention, and that special intervention that we had was supposed to build either academic structure and so on and so forth. But I said we want to use this special intervention for our sports facilities. We always believe that with this saying that if you fail to plan, you have planned to fail. And that was really what moved us to be able to bring out that plan. So like I was saying, when we had an intervention from TED Fund, special intervention, we needed to use that special intervention to build our indoor sports hall. We made a proposal to TED Fund, and TED Fund turned it down because it wasn't an academic classroom. I had to go and meet the ES of TED Fund. And indeed, when I met the ES of TED Fund, I made a presentation, and I says, ES, sir, when we are talking about academic excellence, we must not forget about the extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities are integral part of academic excellence. And I told him I've gone to some of the universities outside of this country. And if you see the investment that they have done on sporting facilities, it's amazing. And sir, there's no reason why we cannot invest on sports. And this is why I've come to say that this intervention that we have, I want you to kindly consider and make sure that we use this intervention for this facility. When I finished, the ES of TED Fund says, look, architect Sonit Achano, he said, VC, I absolutely agree with you. He said you need to make a resubmission.
So this is actually a first.
Well, I believe that is actually the first in using that kind of, because the special intervention was meant for something else. But looking at our priority, I said we need to change it to this priority. But so as we speak, we now came back and they said, since we need to make a resubmission. We said, okay, we will make a resubmission. But this time around, because I have a clear understanding of what your team wanted, I will also satisfy their requirements. And what I now did was to say, okay, the indoor sports theater that we're going to build is for the Department of Physical and Health Education.
Sorry, am I allowed to laugh, please?
It's for the Department of Physical and Health Education. So, we got it approved. And the indoor sports hall is, as we speak, is about 50 to 60% completion. So we are on course on that particular one. We've got intervention also, which I've also used it for the building of another sports facility. So as we speak, based on our design, we have virtually awarded, if I'm not mistaken, more than 80 to 90% of what we need as far as sporting infrastructure. Where we are having a little bit of challenge is that the contractors seem to be working very slow. So that's one challenge that we are looking at. But if not for that, we are on course. And I can say that as far as NUGA is concerned, we are well prepared, preparing well. I also told the our sports chairman that we are not hosting NUGA to just watch. We are hosting NUGA to win. So you need to start preparing our contingent. And preparations are on the way to ensure that at least, we're not just bringing the Nigerian students and watch them. We're also going to watch our teams, and we believe that they are going to, perform fundamentally well. In fact, in preparation for NUGA, we had a contingent from UniJos that
that was selected among university students to, to represent Nigeria in China, Chengdu, last year, I think 2022 actually, taekwondo. And we thought that it is important that we actually go and see the kind of arrangement that the university has made to host the world. That also gave us another insight as to what we actually need in order to make sure that we continue to prepare for the Nuga Games. We are using that experience on a daily basis towards, our preparation based on what we also saw there. Because myself, the chairman of sports committee in the university, in person of Professor Ishaya Pam, and the student contingency were actually in Chengdu for about 2 weeks. So we are on course as far as the Nuga preparation is concerned. And one other thing that a lot of people ask is that, okay, after Nuga, what happened? If you are putting all these facilities, what do you intend to achieve? After the Nuga, what are you going to do? How are you going to run them? How are you going to sustain them? But we already also have a plan. Our plan actually with that sporting facility, and that's why we call it a sports complex, is that as we speak, we have already designed a complete design of what we call the Institute of Sports. So as soon as we finish the Nuga, that place becomes an Institute of Sports. And I can tell you that we have already designed a curricula that I think included up to about 10 different programs that we are going to actually run there within the Institute of Sports, cutting across certificate, diploma, first degree, and even postgraduate degree programs. Courses such as sports medicine, sports marketing, sports law, all sorts of sporting activities, sporting areas that we intend to actually run some of those programs. And I think that that's going to be the first of its kind as far as this country is concerned. So those are all the plans that we have as far as, extracurricular activities are concerned. We encourage our students, we sponsor them, to attend some of the competitions and so on and so forth. That is to show that we are indeed, encouraging students, to engage in sporting competitions, because like I said earlier, for me, it is an integral part of academic excellence. Yeah, for me, that was number one goal that we needed to address, academic excellence, right from undergraduate, to master's to PhD. And let me just talk a little bit on undergraduate. When we came, we had complaints, even from students, that sometimes a semester will start and lecturers will not go to class. They will wait until after some time, and then they will start rushing students. But the curriculum is designed for a purpose, for a number of weeks for a purpose. One of the things that we did actually within the first year was to ensure the staff start lectures on day one of resumption. We have achieved that. We made sure that the staff, in fact, one of the things that we said to staff is that on the day of resumption and commencement of lectures, even if it is 2 students, start lectures. Because if you start lectures with 2 students, next lecture, you see a lot of them. And that's one thing that we believe will enhance, the academic excellence of our undergraduate, of our students. We don't just do laws. We go personally. I go around to check that lectures indeed have started. So I believe that students are having the value when they come, as soon as they come back, and that is why now students are complaining because lectures has gone far, especially for fresh students who have not yet come back, because lectures have gone far. It used to be that sometimes students will not necessarily want to, staff would necessarily want to rush in starting their lectures. So that's number one thing that we had to do. The second thing that we had to do was to ensure that all our programs are accredited, based on our regulator, NUC, in terms of ensuring that we have quality standard and quality assurance standards. Because NUC goes around at least every 5 years to accredit programs and to ensure that quality assurance. So when we came on board, in fact, the first year that we actually invited NUC to come and do accreditation, we rolled out 75 programs for accreditation. A lot of people thought I was crazy. But I said we needed to ensure that all the programs that are due for accreditation, that NUC have come for accreditation. And we were happy and pleased to note that immediately after the accreditation, we had 93.7, about 93.7 of our programs were actually accredited. Full accreditation, got full accreditation status. That means they will not be due for accreditation again until after 5 years. One will say, what about the other ones? But out of the 5, we actually had 4 that had interim accreditation. That means we had 2 years, to get it right. It was only 1 program out of the 75 programs that went on that was denied, and that was a mistake because of the nomenclature of the program vis-a-vis what NUC had in their BMAS. So it's something that we have addressed. So it is to ensure that the programs that we are running have, the quality standards that we expect from our regulator. Of course, anybody will ask, okay, what happened? But before that accreditation, we only had about 57% of our programs accredited. So that gives you a comparison. That is to ensure that we needed to make sure that we invest so much, because to have gotten that accreditation, we invested heavily on the programs, requirements to be able to achieve that. And that is our focus, had been our focus, and is still our focus towards ensuring that we invest the little that we can towards ensuring that we provide academic environments what they need, to excel. On the postgraduate, it has been a shame, actually. Like you said, a lot of people say, when you want to do a PhD in UniJos, you probably spend 10 years or 15 years, as the case may be. But that narrative is changing, or has actually changed, because I can assure you that one of the first thing I did was when I appointed the new Dean of School of Postgraduate Studies. I gave him a clear mandate. And the clear mandate I gave him was that, look, Dean, you have 4 years to serve here. You have 4 years to serve in this as the Dean of School of Postgraduate Studies. Your success story, or your success as a Dean, will be that you are coming to tell me that this candidate that came when I came on board has graduated the PhD. That is in 4 or 5 years. That's what we are working towards. Indeed, it's a misnomer. A PhD cannot be done in 10 years. It's not a PhD. It cannot be done in 15 years.
It's no longer a PhD.
It's no longer a PhD. I tell you one thing, and that is my experience, my little experience. When I started my PhD in Manchester, in the University of Manchester, my supervisor told me 2 things. I will not forget. Professor Linda Macaulay. She said, you must finish your PhD in 3 years or 4 years maximum. I said, oh, wow.
And she said, you know what? You know why? I said, no. She said, because there's a cycle of innovation.
If you miss the cycle?
Yes, there's a cycle of innovation. And a PhD is an innovation. If you run out of that cycle, it no longer becomes an innovation. She said, bear in mind that you are doing this topic today. There are a lot of other people that are looking at a topic similar to this. So if you don't get the PhD before them, they will get the PhD in this area before you, and therefore you will not be a person that innovates. I don't know if I'm telling a story. So what that means is that when you start a research in a particular area and you are not able to work seriously on it for a particular period of time, you've lost it. Because she told me that the day, that is what a PhD means. He said the day you are awarded a PhD in an area, it means you are the world leader in that area. But if you have to delay, and it means that somebody else will have gotten a PhD, and then you are only just following the world leaders. So that's what I mean, that a PhD, that you cannot do a PhD in 15 years. It's the same thing that, if not for strike, for instance, for undergraduate studies, you can't. When you see students who cannot finish a degree, their 4-year degree or their 5-year degree in 5 years, you already understand what it means, or what they are, or who they are. It is either that they have a serious extenuating circumstance, either illness that probably have delayed them from moving, or they're not working seriously. So, and that is the core of the issue with respect to PhD. You achieve a PhD, you're supposed to be the world leader at least that day that you achieve that PhD. And that is one of the reasons why we are putting a lot of strategies on ground, to ensure that our PhD studies in UniJos is no longer the story of coming to spend 10, 15 years. We have already started. I can tell you that we've done quite a lot of clearing, looking at bringing out clear strategies to ensure that the students work hard. The lecturers who, for instance, are found of not really meeting with their students, with their PhD candidates to discuss researches, are doing so as at when due. So that's what we are doing in order to address, that specific issue and specific concern. I think I was kind of privileged to have an insider knowledge of the perspective of research as far as UniJos is concerned. I was privileged to be a member of the strategic planning committee, I think 2018 or 2019. And the university's strategic goals, had teaching and research. Teaching, quality for undergraduate and postgraduate, ICT, gender, and so on and so forth. But I looked at it and said, and I suggested to the team, a University of Jos with a strategic plan, there must be a clear goal that is called quality research. And that came on board on that strategic plan. And indeed, when I became the Deputy Vice Chancellor academic under the immediate past VC, Professor Siri Sebastian Maimoko, when I came on board, I told him very clearly, I said, sir, if I can't do anything to support your administration, I want to do one thing, which is the research culture, building a research culture in the University of Jos. I said, fantastic. So I came up with strategies of how we are supposed to encourage research. We have a TED Fund National Research Foundation grants. As at that time, that was in about 2020, 2019, 2020. As at that time, since the inception of that research grant, there were only 2 staff in the University of Jos that had the research grant. Only 2. And the 2 that had the research grant was not that they had it in 1 year. One had it about 6 years ago. Another one also had it about, and they were just scattered. There was just 2 people that had research grants. 2 academic staff in the whole university. So I told them, I said, I told the VC, I know what I'm going to do. We will change the narrative. So when we got the call for concept notes, I deployed a strategy, and I said every department, every faculty must come up with concept notes, actually submit the concept note to the ORD and to me. And then after the submission, before submitting to TED Fund, we had 3 days working sessions with all the researchers in a room, reviewing all the concept notes. We reviewed over 60 concept notes. And I remember very, very vividly that when we had a meeting, we were having a meeting, and I told them that my target this year was to get 5 funded NRF research grants. And some of you said, we will get more. I said, my target is 5. And that is why I'll tell you why sometimes I reflect about that and said, when you are praying to God, it's better to open up a little bit. It's better to ask God for more than asking God for a limited distance. So we packaged all we packaged about 50 concept notes. When the review of the concept note came out, we got 15 approved for the next stage, which is the full stage. So we said, okay, I said, this is at least an improvement, because before then, I think about 6 years, nobody had it. So I told the VC then, I am going to take all the 15 researchers for an away day. I want to take them out of Jos. We are going to work on these concept notes into full proposals. We went to Mayango Rest Home. I took them to Mayango Rest Home. I said each of the concept note should come with 3 people that they have developed into a full proposal. Come with 3. Again, we spent 3 days working day and night at Mayango Rest Home to review all the full proposals that will be ready for submission to State Fund. We submitted the 15 full proposals to TED Fund. When the result came out, we got 5. So that's why I said when you're praying to God, you pray we pray for more things than so maybe if I had said we are expecting 10, we may have gotten 10. But since that year, we have changed the narrative. In fact, a lot of people called me in TED Fund to said, what's happening in Jos? Because they have seen something different that they've never seen. So, of course, when I became a Vice Chancellor, it's something that was natural that I
that I needed to make sure that we continue. So since then, we have been submitting proposals. I think last year we got 9. Probably one of the highest universities in the north. So I think my point is that you can't create a research culture without investment. Either investment in time, investment in resources, and so on and so forth. And like I said earlier when I started, I said I believe that UniJos has, the caliber of staff, academic staff, that can take university to anywhere we want to take it. And for me, that was a clear demonstration that indeed we have the capacity. We have the capacity to be able to, to be able to improve our research, and so on and so forth. I said we must budget for research. Since we have a goal, if there is no budget for research, it means that we are not planning to achieve that goal. So the first year I presented, because before I came, the budget for research was basically like 5 million, 10 million. What can you do with it? So the first year I made a presentation to the council. I said I have a plan. Our research budget from 10 million will move to 50 million for the first year. And we'll be moving, subsequently towards ensuring that we support research. We support people that are doing research. As we speak, we have a lot of research grants, including research grants that have come from outside. We even have a mega grant in partnership with Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, NVR here, NIMA, and TEDFON, towards research and development, of a DNA-based COVID-19 vaccine. And that has already been designed. That has been developed. I was part of those that actually went to Sokoto to carry the candidate to Jos, for laboratory analysis, clinical trial. And we finished the trial. We are now in the last phase of clinical trials before we can say we now have our own vaccines. And that is as far as we know, that's the only vaccine, COVID-19 based vaccine in Nigeria. Just last week, we went for a TEDFON fair. Again, one of our colleagues, Professor Abraham Dogo, developed a tick vaccine. And that was actually showcased. As we speak, we are going through the process of registering IPR, intellectual property rights, so that we can take it forward as a university. So there are pockets and a few researches. I know that there are quite a number of research grants within the College of Health Sciences. There are quite a number of grants within the Faculty of Agriculture. Actually, we have attracted and was privileged actually to have a center, a TEDFON Center of Excellence in Food Security in the University of Jos that is being funded by TEDFON. So we have plans for research, and therefore we are working towards ensuring that we develop our research. We have a research policy that we are following up, which we have also recently reviewed. But for me, one of the things that I've been telling my colleagues, and you can see what we are doing is actually solutions to our societal problems. We should stop learning to do research that is similar to what is happening in the US. Research is about solving problems. And what are our problems? When you are looking at the US, they have their own problems. If you are doing research, you're doing research for solving US problems. What about our problems? And that is one of the reasons why even during one of the TED Fund research grants, I came up with a concept, an idea that I felt that Jos is an area that, it's a state, Plateau State generally. Not only Plateau State, of course we know, insecurity in the country is all over. And I said, what can we do with technology to help address the issue of insecurity? We have drones. Most of the time you see drones, you see them taking pictures. So, okay, why can't we deploy that for security surveillance? So we had a project that is also funded by TED Fund that we worked towards actually designing and developing a home kind of drone, homegrown drone. We may not have developed all the components, but we ordered for some of the components outside. But we have a drone here now in the University of Jos. But that is not the innovation, because drones already exist. But what I now said was that, okay, what we should do is that let's put intelligence into the drone. So that's where artificial intelligence comes in. So the proposal that we had was actually embedding artificial intelligence in drones for security surveillance. I came up with that concept, and we got it. We have developed that. We have tested that. We have a prototype as we speak, and even as we speak, we have discussed, this particular prototype with a variety of agencies in government in Nigeria, towards looking at strategies to really help in deploying it. We know that the military are also deploying drones, but our own is very unique in the sense that we have intelligence that will actually be able to capture, intelligence, and also extended the resolution of cameras to the extent that if you have a gun in your pocket or anywhere, we'll be able to detect. Depending on how far it is, we'll be able to capture that, and we've developed that. So I think what I've been saying and what we are doing and focusing is doing a research that addresses our local problem, that addresses our community problems, and addresses our societal problem. My perspective of solving problems, and in fact I've been preaching the concept of living in silos. Don't live in silos. Problems do not exist in silos. I'm a computer scientist. There are problems that are specific to computer scientists. But problems generally, even problems that are specific to computer scientists, cannot be solved only by computer scientists. You must be able to get the perspectives of other disciplines to have a true solution to that particular problem. And I give you an example of what I mean here. One may think that this is actually a design of technologies. They are designed by psychologists because of the perception of the thinking of how people. Before we had a touchscreen phone, there was no touchscreen phone. There are psychologists that design them. They design them, technologists implement. Without that synergy, the solution wouldn't have been there. So for me, I do not believe that there's any problem at all that is disciplinary specific. And that is why we've been preaching about interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary perspectives to solving problems. No problems is solved. The research that I've just described to you with respect to drones and AI is a combination of people from engineering, people from computer science, and now we are even taking it to sociologists, Because what is the sociological impact of even drones flying? What impact would it have on the society? So I absolutely believe in interdisciplinary. I have done projects. Even my PhD was an interdisciplinary based project. I've supervised PhD projects in the UK that are actually interdisciplinary. In fact, I supervised a PhD student that we had to be going to sit, myself and my student has to go and receive lectures and tutoring from a psychologist. Because we are developing profiles, artificial agent-based profiles, artificial intelligent profiles of human beings. But we thought that for us to understand how human beings behave, we have to go there. And there I can tell you that we learned a lot, from psychology. At some point, there was a time I remember we went and met one of the professors at the University of Hull. And he said, I think you people are better at psychologists now than us. So we must learn to understand that problems exist, and for the problems to be solved, it needs a multidisciplinary perspective to that problem for it to be resolved. Maybe that is one of the reasons why we're having problems in this country. Because we believe that when a problem is addressed, for instance, this security problem, security issues that we are having, we think that the only solution is the military, the police, and so on and so forth. That's not where the solution is going to come from alone. We need to engage the community. We need to engage the society. We need to look at sociologists. We need to look at psychologists to think about how we can actually resolve and solve those particular problems. I'll start from where you started with respect to the leadership of the Committee of Vice Chancellors. I happen to be a co-chair, actually, not the main chair, the co-chair of the CVCNU. And when I reflect, most of the time, I look at the leadership that I've actually come into leadership. Most of the time, I think as if I'm coming into leadership by accident. Frankly speaking, at the beginning of my life, when I finished secondary school, the only thing that I wanted to do was to become a military officer. And I applied for NDA. I was virtually, probably was going to, to get the NDA. But unfortunately, my father refused, to allow me to go for the interview. And my reason for wanting to be in the NDA was that, I just wanted, to be in an area where I command, not leadership. Leadership was the least in my mind. And then later on, I wanted to be an accountant after I finished my academics. My first degree. But eventually, I decided that I was going to do research. And when I became a researcher, for me, I was just interacting with, with research materials. I never thought that all those things that I did had anything to do with leadership. Unfortunately, as we do these things, it became a little bit apparent, and that is why I said by accident. When I was in Hull, University of Hull, the position of the head of department came up, and my former head of department, who then became dean, came and told me, Tanko, are you not going to apply? And I said, apply what? Apply to be a head of department. I never thought that I was going to be. And I contemplated, I said, no. Later on, he said, why don't you? Just give it a go. If you don't want it, you don't want it, but just give it a go. I did apply, and by the grace of God, I became the head of department. So that's why I said by accident. I became a director of ICT more or less by For me, I tell you by accident, but I think that is how God plans his own things anyway. So I became the co-chair of CVCNU by accident. I never wanted it, to be honest with you, but my colleagues wanted it for me. And I looked at the temperament. I felt I shouldn't disappoint them, because even when we were going out for voting, some of them kept saying, please, don't step down, don't step down, don't step down for somebody, and so on and so forth. And that was how I became the co-chair of CVC. It's a privilege I believe I have been given by my colleagues. And I also believe that it's a trust that they have given me, to be able to see what we can do as a system. For me, I believe that being part of the leadership of CVCNU is towards, continuing the conversation, within some of those challenges that are facing your Nigerian university system. Continue conversation with my colleagues, and then continue to see where we can go to be able to lobby, to be able to address or present the cases on behalf of Nigerian universities. And that's one thing that I believe is a trust, and we are committed to do that. One of the first things that I actually said when we were appointed, I had the opportunity of meeting with the ASU president, and I told the ASU president, we must work together. The committee of Vice Chancellors and ASU are the same. So let's work together, because the problems are the same. Let's work together towards addressing the challenges. So we're going to continue to have conversations with various unions, the agencies of government, ministry, National Assembly, towards addressing the challenges that are affecting the university system. And I think I'm actually working towards the challenges, that are facing university education in Nigeria. I've had the privilege, of course, of working in a university system in the UK for over 15 years or thereabout. So I understand and I'm able to relate the differences, the different challenges, because in every country there are specific challenges that are facing. In our country, one of the main challenges that we're having actually is funding. That's the main challenge that we have. When you look at it, the budgetary provision in most universities cannot operate a university, frankly speaking. And unfortunately, we have a model of university that says university education, no tuition fee. Public university education, no tuition fee. So I think that personally, it's a challenge. During our time when we were students of university, I believe that government had enough, because then also there were a few universities. Government had enough to be able to provide the needs of university education. But at the moment, I think universities have have increased. The number of students have increased. The facilities have dilapidated. That needs, upgrade. Most of the things need contemporary touches, and unfortunately, there are no funds to be able to achieve those things. At the moment, for instance, we have most universities, you can hardly see expatriate lecturers. In other words, lecturers from outside of this country. And it is part of the concept of a university, a universe. It's a universal community. University is a universal community. But we hardly have it now in Nigeria. That is because, number one, that it is difficult for you to have, a lecturer from the US to leave US to come back to Nigeria and lecture, because the remuneration cannot pay even their services at their homes, because of course they need to leave their homes, let alone paying their mortgages. So you find it difficult to now have those kinds of lecturers. And that is one of the reasons, for instance, why you go to University of Jos, you find that the majority of staff are around the region. In fact, even Ibadan, you go to University of Ibadan, you find majority of the staff are around the region. Even in country, people find it difficult to actually go further because the pay is not taking any lecturer home. I'm sure you cannot believe when I say that the salary of a professor is less than $500 in Nigeria. The monthly salary of a professor is less than $500 now. The salary of a professor typical in the US is about $10,000. They can't leave that to come. It is only Nigerians, for instance, that can decide to come, like myself. And some people call me crazy to have left, a position in the UK to come back to Jos. The first time I came back, I realized that my salary then, as at then when I came back in 2012, my salary in Jos was just about equivalent of $1,200, 200 pounds, because then the naira was a little bit stronger. And I think that this is coming as a result of, the gradual disappearance of what we call the autonomy of the university system. Universities world over are autonomous entities by nature. They are autonomous, in other words, they don't operate based on ministry, interventions, based on government circulars, and so on and so forth. Universities operate based on the act that create them. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, which we do have, each university is a creation of an act, and that act empowers the university community with that level of empowerment, to be able to carry certain activities. Unfortunately, that has eroded gradually, or is eroding gradually. So I think until, even to address the issue of the funding challenge, we need to address the issue of that autonomy. And let me talk a little bit about autonomy, because when we talk to government about autonomy, they think, okay, we can give you autonomy, but you need to go and raise your funds. That is not what autonomy is. In the UK, when I had the privilege of being a head of department. Before the beginning of the session, you know exactly how much is coming from government. And that is coming from government is coming per student. As at then, a home student used to have a tuition fee of about £9,000. Government pays 2/3 of the tuition fee for each student in all universities. The students pay 1/3. And that is why, for instance, you can see that a department in Nigeria, in UniJos, for instance, will not be able to, change, computers in a laboratory even after 10 years, because there are no funds. But when I was in the UK, we had a policy of changing computers after every 4 or 5 years maximum. Complete suit we had to change. I dare not say an example. I was looking at the Department of Computer Science at the University of Hull when I was thinking of whether our university can set up a center of artificial intelligence, center of excellence in artificial intelligence. I discovered that the University of Hull, for the department, has set up a center and invested £4.5 million for that, center. For that center. I wonder how many universities in Nigeria can do that. None. Wow. Maybe the only universities that can now do that are those private universities, because private universities now pay, some universities pay up to $8 million per annum for different courses, especially medicine and medical related courses. But here in UniJos, for instance, students of medicine are only paying about 100 100,000 naira per annum, not per term. When you increase 1 naira, they will go for aluta. You know, so I think that the whole structure of university education and university funding in Nigeria, I believe that the model need to change. I'm happy with the current government under the leadership of President Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, who has actually created a loan scheme for students that we believe will address part of the problem. Because there are also internal challenges, no doubt. You know, this issue of strike all the time is something that, for me, you know, is something that we must be able to address. Internally, we must be able to also address issues of internal quality assurance within what we could provide our students, you know, and so on and so forth. But those are, for me, those are the fundamental issues. Government need to really consider and allow universities to operate according to the act that creates those universities. When that happens, it means that the governing council, for instance, can decide and say, look, government, we need 10 billion to run this university. How much are you giving us? If you are giving us 5 billion, we need to divide 5 billion by the number of students that we have to be able to get that 10 billion to run the university appropriately. That's what autonomy is all about. And then, of course, for the university to operate without too much external, you know, interventions. We have a lot of external distractions, to be honest. So much so that you find it sometimes very difficult to really focus and continue, you know, working according to your vision and mission. JAM is actually about standardization and regulation. Standardization and regulation in terms of ensuring equitable treatment of all applicants within Nigerian universities, for Nigerian universities. And I think that JAM actually, for me, JAM have been doing quite a good job in terms of standardization, in terms of bringing out policies. Most countries actually have the combined admission, you know, kind of regulations. If you leave universities, I think that JAM's role actually stops at the point where I receive my student. So its role stops at that. And I think that is what has been happening. JAM's role is to conduct a unified admission examination for all candidates who want to study in Nigerian universities. And then when they conduct the unified examination, they distribute the the students that have chosen various universities for universities to actually admit. So the admission is done by universities. But what JAM also looked at is to see that, okay, we expect that we have certain percentage of merit in your admission process. And they have a mechanism to check, as a University of Jos, whether we are adhering to the standard, the standardization of that. You know, for example, if I have 100 students to admit on my course, JAM has clearly defined a way that we should actually look at that. You know, for example, we expect to have about 45% on merit. What that means is that those that have achieved a criteria that I have listed for my university in admission for that course, from 1 to 45, if they have attained all the criteria, both the JAM criteria, the JAM examination criteria, and that of the O-level requirements, I should basically just draw the line 1 to 45, irrespective of where you are coming from. 45 are there in the university for this course on merit. They've also defined, okay, the remaining, so percentage should be on catchment states. Then you can look at catchment states. And then so percentage are on educationally disadvantaged states. And then you can look at that percentage. So I think it's a very clear criteria towards enhancing, towards ensuring that the Nigerian students, are treated equally, by any university that they've actually applied and want to go to. So irrespective of whether, a student from Plateau, if they want to go to Ibadan, University of Ibadan, as long as they are among the top within the merit, they shouldn't be stopped. So I think at that point, I've not seen any fault in JAM actually doing that. But as soon as the admission is done, as soon as they have finished their work, of course, they don't have any other thing to do in the university. Their own is admission process, and monitoring also, the admissions that universities are doing. I'm here because I'm an alumnus of University of Jos. And I think that when I made a decision to come back, I thought that as an alumnus of University of Jos, probably that was the only opportunity I had to make a contribution to my alma mater. And of course, my experience, I believe that alumni plays an important role in the development of the universities. Very, very important. When you look at top universities, you find that the contributions of alumni alone are enough to actually run those universities per annum. So having that at the back of my mind, was one of the reasons why, for instance, when I came on board, I decided that we needed to have an alumni development and alumni engagement strategy. The first engagement strategy that I thought we needed to do is to say that at the moment, where are our alumni? Where are they? Who are they? We don't have them, at our fingertips. And so that is one of the reasons why I said, well, as an IT person, we needed to develop an application that would capture all our alumni. That will capture them, we will capture their details, we capture, and also to begin to now inform them of what the progress that the university is making, the challenges that the university is facing, and then, requesting them to actually make contributions towards addressing some of the challenges. As we speak, we have already developed that alumni database. We have demonstrated it to the alumni association, the executive in particular. They've given us some input. We have captured the input. We have implemented the input. It's already deployed. All that we are waiting for actually is a date, for us to do a proper launch of that alumni database. When that happens, it means that anywhere you will be able to go to that link and update your details. Because candidates, especially, alumnus, the alumnus that have probably graduated 20, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, as at that time, there was no email. So they don't have email address. As at that time, there was no mobile telephone, so we don't have details of their telephone contacts. So that database will help us actually to get those details so that we are now in touch with them. Being in touch with them, I believe, is the first phase actually of alumni relations development, because you need to be able to relate with them. You need to be able to get them to understand what is going on. You need to be able to get them to understand the activities of the university that is going on, and to be able to also let them know of some of the challenges addressing or affecting the university,
for them to be able to see where and how they can contribute. But for us, we believe that is an important aspect, and that is why I have been attending a variety of various meetings of alumni association towards ensuring that we are able to gather and capture enough data that will help us, to move forward from that perspective. And this is what I've been asking, particularly our Center of Excellence in Food Security. What have you done and what are you doing for the community? We have a lot of people coming to farm on our land, on the university land. What have you done to them that will show them that they are actually indeed in the university where there's knowledge, skills, and empowerment? How did you help them increase their products? So that's the kind of research that I said we needed to do. That's the kind of understanding that I said we needed to bring, for people to really understand. So for me, I work in Ngorogo. I can walk there. I can go anywhere. I can go to Naraguta. I can go to anywhere. And I believe that most students and staff, are beginning to have that understanding as well. I know there have been issues around that, but I think that we need to walk the talk. We need to really work to ensure that as a university, we are here for our people. We are here for the immediate community. And what we should do is to ensure that we address, the yearnings and concerns of our community. I can tell you that that's the nightmare of every Vice Chancellor. During admission, in fact, I thought that one of my former Vice Chancellor, Professor Mafue, who was here, he once told me when I was a director at ICT, he said, look, one of my nightmares of being a Vice Chancellor is during admissions. I wish that during admissions I would just run away because it's a nightmare. I never understood it until now, because I can tell you it's one of the greatest nightmares that we have. Everybody thinks when the vice chancellor can just give you medicine, and that's all. People don't understand. I was telling someone today who applied to UniJos and came to actually see me and told me that her daughter says it's medicine or nothing. And I said, Madam, I can't assure you your daughter medicine, because there's a criteria and there's a process for admissions. If we have finished that process, there's no way I can bulldoze anything. We have to follow process and procedure. And I told her, I said, look, Madam, as we speak, I have about 1,500 candidates applying to study medicine in UniJos. And guess what? I only have 150 to admit.
And then there's also the treatment of those people, like those people.
Yeah, of course. I'm not going there, but but you receive letters from all over the country. And in most cases, I wish I would show you the pile. In most cases, it's medicine. So how do you satisfy? I probably have more than 500 base requests, basically for medicine. And I have only 150 to admit. When I was the director of ICT, a lady that's close to me came with her guardian, crying. And I said, what is the matter, Ma? And she said, this boy
has been applying for medicine. This is the 6th year now. Has been applying to gain admission for medicine in this year, in this university. This is the 6th year, and he hasn't gotten. Please, I want you to help. So I told her, I said, Ma, I'm sorry, I'm not the one that does admission, but I will make a request for your child to be offered admission. But I can't guarantee that he's going to be offered medicine. In fact, it's possibly going to be impossible because I know, as director of ICT, that the space for medicine was full then, even over full. So it's going to be impossible. But if you want, I can take the issue to the Vice Chancellor, and then we'll see whatever that we can get. Let him start. I took it. Thankfully, he was considered for admission. And guess what? He was not given medicine. And guess the program that he was given? He was given special education. Oh my God, that's the list. The people, somebody from medicine to special education. They came back crying. I looked at them, I said, look, ma, do you want my sincere advice? He said, yes. I said, look, let him go and register for special education. Let him continue with the special education. If 6 years ago he had taken a course, he would have finished that course by now. So let him take special education. If he wants to rewrite JAM, he can rewrite JAM next year. Let him try again, but let him be on a program. So he was on a program. He went and did the registration. The next admission round, I didn't see them. So I didn't see them. I even forgot. So the second year, I saw the madam. I said, ma, what's happening? Your child, he didn't apply again. And she said, oh, in fact, he said he's loving the course. He said, he's loving special education? He said, yes. So you see, that's fine. After about a year or so ago, you know what she called me to request for? Sir, please, can you help me with a transcript? He has gotten a scholarship. I said, where? That was when he finished. I don't think he has even gone for NYC. He has not gone for NYC. As he was finishing, had not even collected his certificate. He got a scholarship to do a master's in the UK on special education.
What do you think would happen if you had done this?
So I told her, I said, oh, he's gotten a scholarship to go to the UK? I said, yes. I said, he's not going to come back. I said, before he finishes his master's, he'll gain a job in the UK. And when he has a job in the UK, there's no way he'll come back. I said, so you see, God normally has a destiny for every individual. And sometimes when you try God, He will continue to put you in the right path. But when you insist, sometimes you say, okay, let me go ahead.
This part is sounding like Pastor Tanko.
No. Every day I reflect. As a Vice Chancellor, I always feel happy when we face challenges, and that by the grace of God we navigate through those challenges. There are challenges, and when we address those challenges, we feel more happy. But I think the most important aspect is that we see our student
we see our students thriving. We see our students graduating today, and we see them becoming, greater men and women, serving in various capacities in our society and abound. So that's honestly one of the greatest satisfaction that me as a Vice Chancellor normally have. And of course, another aspect of that is the support that I see, unimaginable support that I see coming from my colleagues, from my stakeholders, especially the staff of the university, working sometimes under very, very difficult conditions towards ensuring that we address, particular issues and particular challenges. I don't want to take that for granted, and I think that it is important that I mention that when I see staff, working overboard towards ensuring that the university addresses certain issues and achieves certain aspects, it makes us very, very happy.